Chapter 1. Spark and Silence. Jessica's perspective. For some, life is about staying in your lane, cruising on autopilot, letting comfort map the route. But me? I've always chased the spark. I run toward fire, not away from it. I see risk and wrap both hands around it, like a live wire that might burn or light the way. Even when everything looked perfect, my real estate empire rising, Michael stacking courtroom wins like trophies, I'd lie awake and hear him exhale in the dark, not just tired. Hollowed, like his breath carried the weight of something he couldn't name. In the mornings, he'd stare across the pool as though it held answers. His eyes fogged with something I couldn't quite place, maybe pride dulled by pressure, maybe regret dressed up as routine. And that's the lie of perfection. It doesn't announce the fracture. It gleams. On paper, we were gold, a house worthy of magazine spreads. Children full of promise, a marriage people pointed to as proof. Perfection isn't a finish line. It's the mask just before the unraveling. And behind that mask was us, my family. On my nightstand sits a chipped ceramic bowl, deep blue, swirled with gold. Michael gave it to me the day I passed my real estate exam. Back then, it held promise. My rings, my pride, a symbol of becoming. Now, it holds lint, stray earrings. Dust from mornings too rushed to matter. Maybe that's the hardest part of growing up. Realizing that the things you once clung to for hope become quiet reminders of what no longer fits. 20 years ago, I married Michael Johnson, criminal defense attorney. Sharp wit, sharper wardrobe, ambition that matched mine, stride for stride. We didn't just build a life, we built an empire of expectations. And in the middle of it all, 3 extraordinary children. Junior, our firstborn, wears ambition like a tailored suit. At 18, he's already shadowing attorneys downtown, quoting case law at breakfast like it's scripture. Vanessa is fire-wrapped in silk, 16 and unstoppable. Fierce loyalty and a glare sharp enough to cut through pretense. She doesn't blink first. And Camille, my baby, 14 going on 30, all heart and instinct. Still the one who curls beside me during thunderstorms. She hums when she bakes. She scribbles poetry she guards like treasure. They're my center, my light. But sometimes, when I watch the 3 of them, especially Junior and Tremaine, something flickers. There's a resemblance, the same jawline, the same tilt of their heads. I tell myself it's just coincidence, but even coincidences have a way of echoing in the quiet. The backyard. The dawn sun spills gold across our backyard, stretching light over dew-kissed grass. The pool lies perfectly still, a mirror too smooth to trust. I cradle my coffee with both hands. A cardinal cuts through the quiet with a sharp call. Jasmine perfumes the air, sweet and heavy. Behind me, Michael steps outside. Robe, mug, barefoot, his belt barely knotted, hair sleep-ruffled in a way that once made me reach for him. Now, I just study him. He pauses, eyes fixed on the far edge of the pool where a single leaf floats, spinning slow circles like it's lost. Beautiful morning, I offer. He sets his mug down. Yeah. That one word lands hard, hollow, like a door clicking shut. Everything okay? I ask. He meets my gaze, but it flickers too fast. Just thinking. About what? The leaf keeps turning. Slow, unbothered. We stand there side by side, 2 polished silhouettes against a morning too flawless to be real. And yet, I feel the crack forming in the silence between us. Small but spreading. The real estate journey. I lock the front door behind me and breathe in the day. Sunlight spills across the polished floors of the Brookhaven listing, one of my favorites. Clean lines, high ceilings, the kind of hush that feels full of potential, not emptiness. I slip off my heels and let my bare feet glide across the cool wood, drifting through rooms like chapters of a story still waiting to be written. A knock on the glass startles me. Mrs. Alvarez, my client, stands outside, beaming. Ready? And she calls. Just a second, I say, smoothing my blouse and tucking a stray curl behind my ear. At Howard, I thought I'd spend my life buried in balance sheets, safe behind numbers and formulas. But now, I adjust thermostats to 72 and stage kitchens with mugs that say home in cursive. This house isn't just walls and floors, I tell her as we step into the sunlit kitchen. It's a place where new memories begin. She nods, eyes misting. Exactly why I wanted you to show it. And just like that, the weight I carried this morning loosens. Because helping someone start over, that's where I come alive. She traces the edge of the island. Then I glance at the window. My reflection stares back, poised, polished, sure. But I know what it cost to look that way. The freedom didn't come from a commission check. It started with one unforgettable friend, the kind who dragged me out of logic and into life. Before the listings and the lockboxes, there was Kathy. Kathy, my best friend. Before Michael, there was Kathy, my soul sister. All fire and glitter, impulse and chaos. She didn't walk into a room. She arrived like a spark right before the flame. She was the soundtrack to every risk I didn't know I needed to take. "Girl, what are you wearing?" she shouted, bursting into my dorm like she owned the floor, half-dressed for a party I hadn't even agreed to attend. "Hoodie and leggings," I said without looking up from my econ textbook. She groaned like I'd just sworn in church. "You look like you're about to file someone's taxes, not live your damn life. It's called comfort." "Comfort's not invited tonight," she said, yanking open my closet. And just like that, my night of peppermint tea and flashcards turned into a whirlwind of neon lights, bad decisions, and laughter that left our ribs sore. Kathy didn't ask for permission. She didn't apologize either. She didn't break my plans. She expanded them. She challenged the version of me that thought worth came from control. She forced me to see that living couldn't always be calculated. And through all of it, Jennifer always knew how to anchor us. If Kathy was the fire, Jennifer was the thread that kept us from unraveling. Back then, we were messy, loud, a little reckless, but we belonged to each other. And sometimes, that's all you need. Jennifer, the quiet anchor. If Kathy was gasoline, Jennifer was the match we only struck when it really mattered. Where Kathy was chaos and color, Jennifer was clean lines and quiet knowing. She didn't fill silence, she honored it. She didn't need the spotlight. She became gravity. When my boyfriend ghosted me the week before finals, she didn't rant or offer cliches. She just showed up with mango ice cream, 2 spoons, and a Post-it note that read, "His loss. Your premium cable." That was Jennifer. Still is. She steadied the storm without raising her voice. Her presence was the pause between drama and disaster, soft, essential. While Kathy and I stirred up noise on campus at Howard, Jennifer was down at UGA, FaceTiming in during meltdowns and sending voice notes that always ended with, "You've got this, babe." She made space for us to fall apart and reminded us we wouldn't stay broken. Back then, I never questioned her loyalty. Even from miles away, she felt like home. And maybe that's why what happened later cut the deepest. Meeting Michael. The party pulsed with bass, sweat, and chaos. A blur of bodies, strobe lights, and cheap punch. College heat. Unfiltered energy. That's where I saw him. Michael Johnson. Clean-cut, calm, dressed like he belonged in a courtroom, not a college basement. In a sea of hoodies and backwards caps, he wore a tailored jacket like armor. And for a second, I froze. It wasn't just that he stood out. It was how much he reminded me of someone I hadn't thought about in weeks. The tilt of his head, the stillness, that quiet pull. Xavier. My chest tightened. He wasn't the same. But something in his posture, still, watchful, assured, sent a flicker through my ribs. Familiar. Dangerous. "You're staring," Kathy said, elbowing me. I tore my eyes away. "Who is that?" "Michael Johnson," she replied. "Jason's best friend. Law track. DC prep school boys with something to prove." "You think he's trouble?" "Not trouble," she said. "Calculated. The kind who'll charm your parents and still break your heart without raising his voice." She smirked. "You love that type." "I do not." "You did with Xavier." "That was different." "So go find out how different." Before I could argue, he was already moving. Gliding through the crowd like gravity worked differently for him. A warm hand found the curve of my waist. Firm, respectful. "Looking for someone?" he asked, his voice low. "Just the bar," I said, masking the flutter in my chest. He smiled, slow, deliberate. Then let me walk you there. We stood by the drinks, tucked into a quiet corner of the party. The noise blurred around us. Michael, he said, extending his hand. And you are? Jessica. He repeated it. Jessica. Like it meant something more than a name. Pretty name for someone trying so hard to look invisible. Excuse me? You're watching the room like you're not part of it. I prefer observing. People reveal themselves if you're quiet enough. He raised an eyebrow. So what do you see when you look at me? I paused. Still deciding. He smiled, halfway real. You're tough. I like that. Later, he pulled me into a slow dance I didn't see coming. Confident, grounded. My body hesitated, but only for a second. He leaned in, voice warm against my ear. Until further notice, you're mine. I should have run. Maybe not from him, but from what he made me remember. But I didn't. I followed. Closing the door on Xavier. That summer, we all went to Montego Bay. On the surface, it was a celebration. Sunset dinners, beachfront selfies, too many toasts. Michael flew in 2 days after a trial, exhausted but charming. Jason clung to Kathy like she was his anchor. Jennifer brought a new boyfriend she barely looked at. And me? I smiled. I posed. I played the part. But inside, I was fraying. Some nights, I'd slip out onto the balcony alone, drink in hand, salt wind in my curls, and the quiet would let the memories through. Memories I thought I buried. Xavier. Spring break. Piedmont Park. Our final conversation. He said he needed space, that he didn't know how to be the man I deserved. And I let him go. I didn't cry, not in front of him. But when I got home, I sat in my car for an hour before walking inside. Because I knew he wasn't planning to come back. Now, under the Caribbean sun, my phone buzzed. Xavier, I miss you. I wish I was there with you. I stared at the screen, thumb frozen. A year of silence. A year of moving forward with Michael, even as the ground beneath us kept shifting. And now this? I slipped away from the cabana, letting the waves brush my ankles. Behind me, I heard flip-flops and bracelets jingling. Kathy and Jennifer. They flanked me without a word, just stood there, eyes on the sea. You good? Jennifer asked softly. I held up my phone. Kathy read the message over my shoulder. You've got to be kidding me. Jennifer crossed her arms, unreadable. Kathy rolled her eyes. He had space. You gave him a whole galaxy. Now he'd text you in a bikini? Classic. I laughed, a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I never got closure. Jennifer looked at me. Then get it. But on your terms. That landed. This wasn't about Xavier anymore. It was about me. I looked at the screen again. Xavier, I miss you. I wish I was there with you. My thumb hovered, then typed, me. If you want to talk, meet me in Atlanta. No games. Send. The breeze caught my hair as I turned back toward the cabana. Michael was laughing with Jason at the bar, clueless. The old me would have flinched at the thought of hurting someone. The new me? She was done carrying ghosts. A reckoning with Xavier. He was already there when I arrived. Piedmont Park. Late afternoon. The sun casting that amber haze that softens everything. He sat under the same tree where we once picnicked, made promises we never kept. Still handsome, still familiar, but smaller somehow, worn. He stood when he saw me, slow, unsure. Jessica, he said. You came. I said I would. No hug, no reaching for the past. I sat beside him, leaving space between us. Children laughed nearby, their joy cutting through the quiet between us. He rubbed his palms together. I've been thinking about you. I didn't answer. I shouldn't have left the way I did. That spring, I thought space would fix me, that I'd come back better. He swallowed. But I wasn't trying to grow, I was running, and I left you carrying everything I didn't know how to face. That landed. I turned to him, voice calm but clear. You asked for space. I gave it. Then you disappeared. His eyes dropped. I didn't think I'd lose you. You didn't lose me, I said. You let me go. He looked up, regret written all over him. I didn't know how to come back. You don't, I said gently. Not like this. We sat in silence, the kind that ends things without needing to explain. Then I stood. You broke something, I said. And maybe one day I'll forgive you. I took a breath, steady, final. But not today. He didn't beg, didn't move, and I didn't look back. Because now I knew how to leave, and I meant it. Breaking free. That night, the silence felt too loud. I sat by the window for hours, watching the city move like it didn't know my world had shifted. Lights blinked. Laughter rose from the street. But inside, I was frozen, grieving, not just Xavier, but the version of me that waited for him, that mistook his silence for depth, that believed closure would come wrapped in apology. But closure doesn't arrive on time. It comes when you choose yourself over being chosen. A knock broke the stillness, heels on hardwood. Jennifer. She didn't ask, just opened the door and stepped inside like she could hear my heart breaking through the walls. She held out her arms, and I collapsed. Not into words, but into sobs, gut deep. Wordless, the kind that unravels years of keeping it together. Jennifer held me through all of it. Quiet, steady, rocking slightly, the way you hold someone who forgot how to breathe. It's okay, she whispered. He was a chapter, not your whole book. I shook my head against her shoulder. I thought I was past it. Closure hurts, she said, even when it's the right thing. I didn't respond, just let her hold me until the sobs faded to tremors. Outside, the world kept going. But for the first time in a long time, I felt the truth. So could I. The next morning, I woke with swollen eyes and a strange, quiet peace. Not the kind that comes with resolution, but the kind that follows after finally falling apart. That night had ended something, and somewhere inside, something new had just begun. At the celebration, the restaurant glowed with soft amber light. Low music, lower voices. The kind of space built to hush chaos. Jennifer had promised something small. No drama, no speeches, just light, she said. You deserve to feel seen, not managed. I believed her, until I stepped into the private dining room and saw Kathy already at the bar, yellow sundress swaying, her grin wide and wild the second she spotted me. Jason stood beside her, half in shadow, drink in hand. My breath caught. Surprise, Jennifer murmured behind me, hand steady at the small of my back. Kathy rushed over, arms wide like she could close 5 years of distance with one hug. You think we'd let you start over without us? She hugged me hard, like stitching me back together without saying a word. You came, I whispered. She pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. You always show up for everyone else. Let us show up for you. Jason was next, quiet, tense, shoulders still carrying weight he hadn't named. Hey, I said. He nodded, gave a tight smile. Hey. We hugged, brief, stiff, like something rehearsed but unfinished. You okay? I asked. He cleared his throat. Better now. I scanned the room. Is Michael? Jason didn't blink. He's not coming. Too smooth, too fast. I didn't press. Not yet. Kathy pulled me toward the music. Come dance before I cry and ruin this eyeliner. We danced. We laughed. We moved like women remembering who they were before betrayal had a name. Jennifer leaned at the bar, heels off, sipping something herbal and gold. When I finally made my way to her, she looked me over and smiled. You look like peace with cheekbones, she said. I laughed, really laughed, and something in my chest loosened. Later, I stepped onto the balcony. The night hummed steady beneath us. Lights shimmered across the skyline. My fingers curled around the railing. Jennifer joined me barefoot. You don't have to perform being okay, she said. I thought it would feel like triumph, I murmured. But it just feels empty. That's grief, she replied. Don't rush to fill it with noise. Inside, Kathy waved through the glass, mouthing shots and throwing a crooked peace sign. Jennifer smirked. Some people heal with tequila. And impulse, I added. She's good at making things feel fun again. She is, Jennifer agreed. Then, softer. You don't have to be fire or stillness. You're allowed to be both. I nodded. You sure he's not coming?" She didn't answer, just looked over my shoulder, and I felt it before I turned. Then he appeared, Michael, pressed suit, calm gait, moving through the room like gravity bent for him. He didn't rush. He never had to. The air shifted as he passed. Quiet, instinctive, like people always made space for him without realizing they had. He walked straight toward me, eyes locked, steady, unreadable, except for the flicker in his jaw. That tick he got when he wasn't as composed as he wanted the world to believe. Behind him, the skyline flickered, the music dulled. For a breathless moment, it was just us, standing in the space between memory and undoing. He stopped in front of me, close enough to touch. "I'm everywhere you go," he said, voice low, like a confession and a warning. And I believed him, not because I wanted to, but because even his worst lies used to feel like truth. The air pulsed with unsaid things, with jasmine and regret. "I thought about you," he said next, softer. "More than I should have." It didn't land like a gift. It landed like bait. I swallowed. I never really left. Too honest. I hated how easy it was to say. He reached out, stopped just short, then brushed his fingertips across the inside of my wrist, a slow drag of heat, familiar, dangerous. "I don't know how to fix what's broken," he said, "but I want to try." There it was, the pitch, the edge, and I stood at it, wind in my hair, heart steady for the first time in years. Not because of what he said, but because I finally understood. I didn't owe him the fall. I didn't answer. Not with words, not with touch. Because this wasn't closure. It wasn't connection. It was ignition. A warning from the woman I'd become, the one who finally knew. Fire might feel familiar, but it still burns. The belonging. The next morning, I left before the city stirred. Crisp air, empty streets. The kind of hush that wraps itself around you like a decision already made. Jennifer met me in the garage, scarf on her head, mascara faintly smudged. She didn't say much, just pulled me into a hug that lingered a little longer than expected. "You okay?" she asked, voice low. I nodded. Getting there. She studied me, soft eyes, sharp instincts. "Whatever you decide, don't do it out of guilt, or habit, or because you owe someone a version of yourself you've outgrown." I took a breath. "I won't." She smiled faintly. "Then you're already ahead." We held on a second longer. Then she let go, and I drove. When I walked into my mother's kitchen, the smell of coffee wrapped around me like memory. She was already up. Barefoot, robe tied loose, morning paper folded beside her. She looked up. "You're quiet." "Just tired." She nodded to the stool. "Heart tired or soul tired?" I gave a tired smile. "Both." She didn't rush me, just poured coffee and waited, and I told her. Everything. Xavier's message, Montego Bay, the park, the ache I hadn't expected, the finality I hadn't realized I needed. And Michael. How he'd shown up like a storm I hadn't prepared for. How part of me still felt the pull, and part of me knew better. When I finished, she reached across the table, her hand warm over mine. "Xavier was a chapter," she said. "He left, and it cost you. But it didn't take all of you." I swallowed. "And Michael?" She shrugged. "Maybe he's part of the story too. But love that comes back around doesn't always mean it's whole. Sometimes it just means it never finished unraveling." She let that sit, then added, quiet but sure, "The question ain't who you belong to, baby. It's who helps you belong to yourself." I sat with it, let it sink in. Then I went upstairs, packed my books, got ready for class. Because this time, I wasn't escaping. I wasn't waiting. I was rebuilding. And for the first time in years, that was enough.